Well, welcome everyone. Today I am your facilitator. My name is Carolyn Peterson, and I'm the Assistant Program Manager here at Library Development at the Washington State Library. And I don't believe Jennifer Fenton is going to be, she may be joining us a little later. So she's my other facilitator. The two of us are in charge of doing these two programs for continuing education. And technical support, Jeremy, you have already encountered, and you might want to copy down his email or his phone number in case you get dropped or something happens. So, of course, we work for the Office of the Secretary of State, the Washington State Library, and we are funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And so we are always very appreciative of the state grant that enables us to put this program on. So now, I would appreciate if we need to keep statistics of where folks are from. So if right now in chat, you would type in your name and your library organization. So if you could do that now, everybody could type in where you are. That would be very helpful. I see some folks have got it up. Just type in your name.
If you have multiple individuals with you at your site, please let us know that as well. I mean, it's sitting in on the session, I mean. We do want to keep track of the actual counts there. Well, I see we have folks from all over the United States, from Yakima Valley, from, I'm assuming, Vermont, Blacksburg, Virginia, the Townsend Library, the Jamestown-S'Klallam Tribal Library, the Utilities and Transportation Commission, and someone from Maryland. So welcome all. I think you're going to really enjoy this look at this update that Robert's going to give you.
Well, good morning, everyone.
So what is Readers First? Well, I learned about Readers First when I went to the... Good morning, that's Robert, our presenter. And you know what? He is from the Spokane Public Library, and with no further ado, I'm going to let him get going, and what I'm going to do is I will watch the chat box, and I will gently interrupt, or depending on whether or not he wants me to save the questions for the end.
It would be easier to save questions for the end.
Okay, so that's what I will do. My role will be to watch the chat, and if you have a question, please type it in chat, and then at the very end of the presentation, we will ask Robert to answer them. So, Robert, with no further ado,
thank you for this opportunity to give an update on the Readers First and Ohio Library Council and ALA initiatives to improve ebook access and services for public library users. I'm going to start with Readers First, and I am using their slide deck that they use for presentations. Readers First is an initiative that encompasses 292 library systems in North America, representing 200 million users. And they have working groups, and they're endorsed by many, many libraries, including Spokane Public Library. As you know, libraries have faced many challenges in the ebook realm. Libraries face a challenge of availability in that some publishers won't license ebooks under a library lending model. Libraries face a challenge of discoverability and access from ebook platforms that are fragmented and hard to use. Regarding availability, ALA has taken the lead in dealing with that issue. They have been meeting with publishers. They've had multiple meetings. They've been advocating for full access to the front list of the major 6 publishers and all publishers. As you know, some publishers have embargoed sales to libraries. They've had a lot of progress with the big, now 5, used to be 6. Macmillan just recently announced that they will provide access to their front list. So availability has been improving thanks to ALA. Readers First decided to focus on discoverability and access. Libraries have a responsibility to ensure that users have the same open, easy, and free access to ebooks as print books. Products currently offered by e-content distributors create a fragmented, disjointed, and cumbersome user experience. At Spokane Public Library, we started with ebooks from NetLibrary. Then EBSCO bought net library content, put it on EBSCOhost. It was a jarring change for our customers. Later, we acquired ebooks through Overdrive. Later still, the state library provided ebooks through the Recorded Books one-click interface. So now our customers have 3 platforms to navigate to find ebooks. So Readers First, how did it come about and progress? Early 2012, Bibliocommons moves to integrate ebooks, and they face challenges. June 2012, Readers First launched at Book Expo America. As you know, librarians will get together and they will try to solve a problem. September 2012, first general membership meeting. November 2012, functional requirements drafted and shared with vendors. So we were trying to capture what we thought the customers needed and what libraries needed and what we needed to get back from the vendors. January 2013, Readers First hosts a vendor roundtable at ALA Midwinter. Then in January 2014, Readers First launches its Guide to Library eBook Vendors. That was really the culmination of all their efforts. What are the Readers First principles? The customer should be able to discover content in a single comprehensive catalog. Customers should be able to interact with the library within the library's own context. The customer should be able to access a variety of e-content from multiple sources. And they should be able to read ebooks that are compatible with all readers. So this guide that came out in January 2014, that is really, as I said, the culmination of all their work and how they plan to assist libraries and how to pressure vendors, or maybe you could say inform vendors. So it is the Readers First Guide to Library eBook Vendors. It's available on the website at readersfirst.org, and I'll give you a tour of that guide. So what is the guide? It creates an objective rating system for library ebook platforms and distribution systems, shares a vision for a seamless ebook experience for our readers, identifies successful functionalities in library ebook systems, identifies areas for improvement in library ebook systems. I'm a little behind on my slides here. We'll catch up. Why? Well, libraries are purchasing new ebook systems. Libraries are evaluating their existing systems. At Spokane Public Library, here we are with 3 ebook platforms. Maybe it's time to look at what we're providing. Libraries are adopting new platforms and discovery layers. And once again, at Spokane Public Library, we just adopted, or will adopt, Circe Dynix's Discovery Layer Enterprise, which includes ERC. If you haven't heard of that, ERC is a plug-in to the catalog that collects digital content and allows the customer to download an ebook or a downloadable audiobook from within the library catalog. Libraries are presenting a collective voice on shared experiences and shared visions. That is really the strength of Readers First. If we represent 200 million users, that carries a lot of weight with the vendors. What are the vendors doing? They're designing and prioritizing developments for existing and new ebook platforms and distribution systems. So this guide can help them see what libraries are focusing on. How did this come about, the guide? The Readers First working group members set up a list of possible technical requirements for library ebook systems. Working group members voted on prioritizing these technical requirements. They created a vendor product survey from the prioritized technical requirements. They distributed the survey to library ebook vendors, held follow-up conference calls with vendor representatives. A content subgroup wrote up assessments based on the completed surveys. Then a draft was submitted to both a professional editor and a professional proofreader. So what is in the guide? What will you find? You'll find general terms and conditions, item metadata, circulation transactions, patron account information, e-content format, administrative reporting and support, patron notifications. Under general terms and conditions, the ease of use and openness of a vendor's content delivery system, you will see that, I hope you can read this, but there are a list of functionalities that are given. You ask the vendor yes or no if they provide it. They're weighted by the working group. A score is given, and then any questions or comments. So, for example, use and/or sub-license external access methods to third parties under contract to customer. Store and index metadata related to items owned or licensed by customer. Accept authenticated patrons from the library's account management system without requiring a separate login by the patron. And those of you who have experienced Zinio, the downloadable magazines, you first log into Recorded Books, and then you have to log in yet again to Zinio. Freedom to choose item enhancement data from a chosen provider and to use that data in the presentation and display of item records in an external environment. For example, cover art, series information reviews, and summaries, like we do in our catalogs. Limits on programmatic access methods restricted to those that protect performance, security, and stability of the service. No requirements or restrictions on the display of item records. Direct support for troubleshooting technical issues. So once again, all these things are weighted. So this weighting also tells the vendor what libraries are looking for. Under item metadata, rates how well readers can search for and identify items. Standard bibliographic metadata, enriched content where available, current item availability for checkout or hold ready status, holds queue length for each title, title, copy, unique identifier, language format, and intended audience of item, timestamp information related to changes of volatile metadata to allow for retrieval of metadata for new or changed items. In other words, is the information live? Provide metadata that allows discovery mechanism to merge records from multiple content suppliers under one title ISBN for the purpose of discovery. Circulation transactions measures how effectively readers can borrow and return content. So, for example, place a hold, check out an item, download an item, return an item prior to expiration date, cancel a hold or request, suspend a hold or request, retrieval of the first available copy of a title across multiple content providers. And in the Spokane example, there are some duplicates. The state library, when they provided titles to us, ebook titles through Recorded Books, there were duplicates from what we already owned in Overdrive. So if there's a holds queue, there's currently no way for our systems to shunt the customer to the first available copy. Patron account information rates how well readers can get information about their borrowed items. Current number and details about holds requests, including titles, queue position, expiration dates. Number of holds and checkouts remaining, including the maximum and remaining holds and loans, if applicable. Any other patron data stored by the vendor, such as email address and notification preferences. Estimated wait time for items on hold. Patron notifications investigates if libraries can control and change the content and timing of notifications sent to their readers. Libraries can customize message, content, and timing of notification delivery to patrons. There must be no requirements that any vendor-provided content, links, or branding appear in notifications to library patrons. To my knowledge, we do not control any of our notices that come out of these systems. e-content format discovers if content is available in open formats. It shouldn't be displayed only through a vendor's proprietary format. I think everyone is familiar with Kindle through Amazon. And here it says e-content available in open formats, Onyx, EPUB, PDF, HTML5, not required to display e-content through proprietary apps. And administrative reporting and support allows libraries to support their readers and create informative reports. Provide ability for library staff to change, update patron authentication information, for example, the barcode number, as needed. Now this has happened to us. We have a customer, they lose their library card, and they are an Overdrive user. We want to be able to update Overdrive so that they have the new barcode, because all their holds, checkouts are all associated with that barcode. So right now we have to report that to Overdrive. Provide ability for library staff to reorder the holds queue if required for patron support. I know I've personally done that as well for a customer that was having trouble. Provide statistics on number of items borrowed, including by title, subject, genre, language, library day, month, device, etc. Provide statistics on holds per item, per subject or genre, by day or month. Provide statistics on number of searches per title and top searches. Provide statistics on number of unique customers. That's another statistic that we track and report out to our board. Provide statistics on site traffic. Again, how were these criteria developed? Well, Readers First has been listening to customers, listening to library staff. And so I'll read a few of these. As a library patron, discover e-content. I want to discover e-content in the library's catalog so I can discover all of the library's offerings, all content formats. As a library patron, I want to search the entirety of the library's offerings from any search function presented to me, including one in my e-reader, so I can discover everything the library has to offer and learn about offerings that may appeal to me, even though I did not seek them out. So what we're hearing from people is they would like to operate within the context of the library that is pre-existing. We already have library catalogs. They keep their my list. They track their holds. They track their items out. Library staff member. I want to merge titles from multiple e-content vendors into a single bibliographic record with a single holds queue. We haven't been able to do that at Spokane Public Library, but we certainly, when we got duplicate records with the recorded books in Overdrive, we did put 856 tags in for both vendors. A selector acquisition staff member says, I want to order an additional copy of an existing e-title from any vendor and have it linked to the single existing bib record in the library's ILS, so I can fill additional holds or meet anticipated growth in demand. Well, I know we're not there yet. As a cataloger, I want to link any additional e-title to the existing bib record that I have already created in my catalog, so I can avoid creating unnecessary duplicate records and manage the bibliographic data for e-titles in a single record, both in my ILS and in OCLC. And the customer service staff member says, I want to bump up a patron in a holds queue when their original position has been compromised, so I can resolve the patron's issue quickly and responsibly. So the result, and if you look at this guide, you will see the vendor matrix. So they will get a compliance score, which is blacked out here because we're not advocating for any one vendor at this point. You can get the guide and you will see those ratings. You will see the API integration, and I will talk some more about APIs in a moment. You'll see planned API integration, and you will see that some of these, it says suspend hold, will appear for Baker and Taylor in first quarter of 2014. Well, we're past that already, and I'll speak a bit about that as well. And then ILS discovery product compatibility. You'll notice that the vendors are not compatible with all ILS products or discovery layers. This is a very dynamic landscape, and Readers First understands that they have to capture this. So you will get vendor assessments. The vendor gets a narrative in the guide and a rating. There will be an overall rating. And then for each of the categories that I just went over, the general metadata, circulation, etc., they will get a rating as well. So in a library setting, you will be able to use this guide to select a vendor, an ebook vendor, that best suits your needs. And the vendors themselves can see what libraries are weighing the most for their development resources. So some next steps for the guide. Certainly, it needs to be sustained, revisited, and updated. And I just touched upon that. Again, a dynamic landscape. For Overdrive, I'm getting almost weekly announcements of changes to the admin interface. The guide should be expanded. And listen and adapt. Again, listening to libraries, listening to customers on what they need in their ebook experience at the library. Where is Readers First going, and where has it been recently? There was a round table at ALA midwinter with more than 20 vendors. The product guide, another check mark, that's been done in January of 2014. So it's the resource for libraries to help evaluate progress and compliance. Continued dialogue. So communication with vendors and libraries, particularly about API standards. And again, I will speak to that in a moment. And advocacy. All of you can play a role in your libraries and in your dealings with vendors. If the vendors hear from you that you are using the Readers First guide, that will lend credence and weight to their evaluation of the guide, and again, targeting their development resources. The next big initiative for Readers First is advocating for vendors to unbundle functions and provide methods, like APIs, to integrate them into the environments our patrons already know and associate with our libraries. So our catalogs, our discovery layers. APIs, Application Programming Interface. It's a set of rules or protocols that can be used by software components to communicate with each other. For example, Overdrive had to develop APIs so that Circe Dynex, their product ERC, eResources Central, could query the Overdrive platform to learn about content and to interact in a circulation mode. Readers First thinks it is time to move forward defining interoperability standards and protocols. So if Overdrive is developing APIs, those APIs will not work for my iLibrary or for Access 360 because there are no standards. Readers First is advocating for open architecture. The providers, what we see as platforms like Overdrive, 3M, Baker & Taylor, Library Ideas, Recorded Books, and Ingram, are the ones developing the APIs or any other method to expose content and lending functionality. The consumers are our traditional ILS vendors, discovery layers, mobile apps like Boopsy. So Readers First is working with the National Information Standards Organization, NISO, on a process to develop the standards, and it's expected to take 18 to 24 months. Readers First is inviting participation in this process. There are 3 levels of participation in the Open Architecture Initiative. 1, endorse and stay updated. 2, get progress reports through conference calls to provide input. 3, contribute time to the project team. Right now, it's a pretty small but dedicated group that works that's on the working teams, and they could, I'm sure, use more expert help. So if you want to help, contact Michael Santangelo, and his email is here, Michael P. Santangelo at bookops.org, and that's at New York Public Library. And here's his phone number. And actually, it is this Friday that they would like to hear from libraries. So that's the Reader's First initiative right now, or where they're at in their initiatives. This is their address. That's where you can find the guide. This is where you can endorse them. But there's another aspect to this, to the challenges that libraries face. ALA focused on availability. Readers First tackled discoverability and access. But do you really own the ebooks you purchased? If you could please answer the poll now, if you think that when your library has purchased ebooks, if you own them.
I'm going to interrupt for just 1 second and show people where the polling button is again, for those who showed up late or just don't remember. It is right up here.
Thank you, Jeremy. Well, I see that we are a well-informed group. No, we do not own those. There's something called right of first sale or first sale doctrine. And in the traditional print world, first sale doctrine allows lending and reselling. So once you have purchased something, or the library has purchased something, it's really yours to do with what you choose. When you're done with it, you can give it to your friends group. They can sell it. You can lend it. And traditionally, books were very hard to reproduce. The publishers were not so worried that libraries would go off and bind their own copies of books. But with the advent of digital content and ebooks, things changed. Their fear level went up dramatically when they saw what happened with the music industry. So their fear is that ebooks can be reproduced easily. And the first sale doctrine does not apply to e-content. But the language is confusing. As a consumer, when you buy an ebook from Amazon, the button says buy, but you also agree to an end user license agreement where you explicitly waive excuse me, first sale rights. You have really not purchased the title. For libraries, many of you are probably aware of the varied experience we have when we purchase a title, and I say that in quotes. HarperCollins limited libraries to 26 checkouts for a title, for a copy. Macmillan limited to 2 years or 52 checkouts. Penguin, they expire after 1 year. For Simon & Schuster, you have to adopt the Buy It Now feature so that it encouraged the customer to buy the title rather than check it out from the library. So the Ohio Library Council drafted a strategic plan to lead the library community to pressure legislators to hold hearings on the vital need for libraries to secure rights of first sale for e-content through modification of the Copyright Act. Ohio Library Council has contracted with Voris advisors, and I think of them as lobbyists, to advocate for public library access to digital content. They have already been contacting senators and legislators, primarily in Ohio, but also other states. And they plan to ask directors in other states to speak to legislators as well, especially targeting House Judiciary Committee members. They also will ask Voris advisors to speak to administration and administrative officials with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. What are they hoping for? They want a congressional hearing to raise awareness of the issue and move toward a legislative solution. And to take their language, they want to craft legislation that cuts a very narrow path for digital first sale rights only to public libraries. There is a thought that if the legislation is crafted for public libraries alone, that the publishers may relent. They also will do a public awareness campaign, using at least initially a website and video, to alert the public to the challenges that public libraries face. This can lend more pressure on the publishers. So the take of the Ohio Library Council is that libraries will not own content until there is a change to the law. And probably many of you remember the state of Kansas lawsuit with Overdrive, which they won after a lengthy legal battle when they tried to move their content from Overdrive to 3M, to the cloud library. And they only won because the Overdrive contract was not crafted carefully enough by Overdrive, and I'm sure all other contracts that Overdrive has been writing will not allow that anymore. So we really only license this content. It's not like buying a copy of a book and moving it from one branch to the other. That we can do easily, but again, these rights of first sale prevent us from moving things, owning the ebooks and moving them as we wish. So they feel that the ability of libraries to provide open access is still at stake. And they too are asking if you want help or information on this to contact Doug Evans. He's the Executive Director of the Ohio Library Council. And I give his contact information here. And I'll let people write that down.
Robert, while you're writing that down, we did have a question a while back. It says, Tom asks, we don't add ebooks to the catalog because content changes for ebook subscription services. How do you keep up with deleted titles from vendors in order to avoid having bibs for items no longer you have?
That's a good question. And Circe Dynix, I mentioned that the new catalog enterprise that we are going to get, which has the plugin eResources Central, that eResources Central has a mechanism for harvesting your current data and your current content. So it will, using an API, it will go to Overdrive and it will update your catalog on what you own. The trick is that it is not going to Overdrive and securing MARC records. It's securing metadata. So it's turning around and presenting that metadata to the customer in your catalog, allowing your customer to check out, again through the APIs, check out that ebook or that downloadable audiobook through your catalog, but there's no MARC record and you are relying on the metadata from the vendor. So that metadata may not use controlled vocabulary for subject headings. You might be getting bisect subject headings. You have no way of changing that, to my knowledge. You would have to interact with your vendor. So the idea would be you mask or remove all your bib records in your catalog once you have something like that, like eResources Central. So, and I see someone just commented, just the tech fix we needed, and I know that there it's been a bit of a bumpy ride. The other thing is that this harvesting of the metadata does not happen every, say, hour or every day. It may happen once a week, once a month, so it's not as current as it should be. But I think we're moving in that direction, and probably libraries have the ability to set up that harvest quicker or more frequently than what I have heard from the vendor.
Okay, and then there is another question or comment, actually. Julie says, so Readers First efforts don't address academic libraries regarding first sale?
Well, Readers First has not addressed first sale, and they have focused on public libraries. That is true, Readers First. Now it's the Ohio Library Council that is dealing with first sale and rights of first sale doctrine, and so that focus, I would be speaking on their behalf, and I have not attended any of their meetings, but I suspect that academic libraries would be included in this. I think that the legislation would be crafted for libraries, not specifying public versus academic. But that's a good question for Doug Evans, and I am happy to get that answer, but if you see his contact information, feel free to contact him and ask him as well.
Okay, I do see that I'm saying it looks like, Jeff says, is Searcy the only vendor that offers ways to integrate downloadable content directly into library OPACs?
No, I know that Polaris has been working with 3M. So this is starting to be the trend that we're seeing, and really Readers First has pushed that with both the ILS vendors and the other vendors. That I think the ILS vendors have been willing to do this. They've been interested in it, but they've been waiting for the APIs to come out of the vendors. And again, you have to go vendor by vendor for the APIs. So you have to go to Overdrive, you have to go to Recorded Books, and it's time-consuming for the ILS vendors. But there are others. Go back to my slide here. Polaris, TLC seems to be working with Axis 360. Innovative Interfaces works with Overdrive. Polaris, TLC also with Overdrive. BiblioCommons is working with the Cloud Library, 3M Cloud Library. So yes, other ILS vendors are working on this.
That's great, thanks. Okay. So this is your contact information?
Correct.
If we have any questions or...
Yeah, feel free to contact me.
Okay, well, we had some buffering, as you can see from... Okay. All right. Is there any other questions or comments or people would like addressed while we have Robert here? This is an ever-changing subject, and like I say, it was about a year ago when I heard him speak, and already some updates, new things. Ohio was not on board last time he did a program. So this is good. Looks like Julie is typing something. So we'll wait for hers to come through. Oh, she says, very interesting, thank you. And Jeff, typing as well. And he says, thanks. So if anybody has any questions, any other questions that you want Bob to answer, Robert to answer. Well, I don't see any typing. I'm going to go up and down just to make sure. This will be, we do archive this presentation. It'll be up on our web if you want colleagues to hear it or understand it. It will be up on the web probably this afternoon. And Yanni says, if our library isn't already
Go to the
participating,
Readers
what
First
can we do to help?
website at readersfirst.org, and you can support. There's a button lower right. It says Add Your Library, so you can be a partner. And as far as the Ohio Library Council, they asked for libraries to endorse their strategic plan as well. And as far as I know, the Washington State Library has endorsed their strategic plan. They also want to be able to speak on behalf of as many libraries as possible when they speak to legislators.
Okay, that's good. All right.
I would add, contact Michael Santangelo. They're always looking for people to help on these working groups.
Was Michael's contact information in here? I don't remember seeing it. Ah, there it is. You went right past it. There we go. There we go. So that's good. So if anybody is interested, don't delay. They would like to hear some. They would like to hear some information by this Friday. So this is a good thing. We just had this presentation this Tuesday, so that's a good thing.
Well,
Okay,
thanks, Carolyn, for this opportunity.
Okay. Well, thank you, because I think all of us are kind of confused, and it's a very chaotic environment, and it's good to stay up to date so we can explain it to our patrons who don't understand why everything isn't available. So it's very frustrating for us and very frustrating for them. So thank you. All right. Well, I think this is going to be, the presentation will be up on the web this afternoon probably. So I say thank you to Robert, and our next, we have another presentation that'll be next Tuesday, actually in October, first Tuesday in October, and that will be on the Washington Archives. So thanks for attending, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, Robert.
Oh, sure. Hope that went well.